welcome back to my show. First thing I'm going to show you is just a little thing I did to my engine block before I sent it away to the machine shop so that it can get bored out and inspected, new freeze plugs put into it, new cam bearings put into it, and then I can bring it home and reassemble it.
If you look at these punch outs in the block and the casting, look how jagged that is. I mean, that's just for oil to return to the camshaft and everything, but to me it just looks terrible. And I'm going to get in there with the die grinder and just smoothen it out, right? This is how they did things in the 70s, and I'm just a little bit fussy, so I'm going to make it really pretty while I'm at it. That literally took me about 3 minutes to do what the factory didn't, and you can see how much more evened out it looks. Totally unnecessary, just something I wanted to do.
Now that the engine block is off to the machine shop, it's time for me to finish all the little unfinished things under the hood, get that all cleaned up and ready, so that when I bring this new engine block home, I can assemble it and put it in. So you can see I have some primered edges that were left behind, and that's going to get painted alongside with the fresh body work that I've done under the hood while the engine is out. And I'm going to be using Shopline JBX. It's a paint from PPG, and it is the B5 blue. That's original from 1970 for this car, and I'm going to be doing it with my little touch-up HVLP gun. And hopefully I don't have such a big spray pattern, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mask everything off and just do the small areas with the small gun at home, base coat and then clear coat. Okay, the blue base coat is on. It looks to me to be just a little bit darker than the rest of the car, and I'm hoping that it lightens up a little bit as it dries. This was done directly over a primer sealer. When the body of the car was painted, it was painted with a metallic silver base coat, and then the B5 blue fire went on it, so it gave it a little bit extra, you know, sort of almost like a candy. And you can see it looks pretty good. I don't have any runs. I did multiple thin coats so that I wouldn't get any runs or sags, and I'm pretty happy. It's going to look good. Automotive paints are meant to be done in a specialized paint booth, meeting all the local requirements and with all the proper safety gear, and I kind of bypassed that and did it in my garage. And I made sure I had good ventilation and that I was wearing a mask, but it's still something that is not intended for a home job. But it turned out really good. I did a couple of no-nos today, and I'm surprised my results are as good as they are. I used a PPG paint, but I ran out of my PPG clear. So I used a clear from Auto Art, another company, and I went ahead and I put it on, and doesn't seem like there's any bad reaction between the two. But normally when you have a product line, you stick with that product line. You don't mix and match things. And you know, I had different brands of hardener, different brands of reducer, and a different brand of clear coat, all in today's experiment. And the only reason I did it is because, you know, this is under the hood and inconspicuous areas, and I didn't want to go out and spend a few $100s more when the outside of the car is already perfect. So, you know, I was being cheap, sticking to a budget, and being careful, and I kind of think I got lucky. So it probably even looks better than it would have from the factory because I got a lot of the ugly seam sealer off and I sanded things, and I just did way more surface prep than I'm sure Chrysler did in 1970 when they made this car. I did something else a while back that was also totally blasphemous. If you'll notice, I've got some Robertson screws holding my headlight bezel on, and it was just because the store was closed and that's all I had, and I needed to get these on. And I know that Chrysler wouldn't have done anything like using a Robertson screw back in 1970 when they made this car, and I'm going to go ahead and I will get the proper screws for it. To tell you the truth, as a Mopar guy, I'm kind of embarrassed that I even did something like that. Now that everything's painted and it's dry, I can go ahead and start putting things back in anticipation for my new engine. So I need to put my MSD ignition box back on the fender where it was. I just got my starter relay put on. I need to reattach the wiring to that. I need to run my wiring harness back to my headlights, to my horn, and to my signal lights and marker lights up front. And I also have wiring for my electric fans that needs to come up. And that will pretty much take care of this side. I'll need to also get the windshield washer fluid tank and pump also wired in and put in place on the side. I just want to show you what it looked like before. So the outer fender was green from a 1971 car, and the inner fender was white and welded in. And somebody also painted black over this white inner fender to cover up all the welds. And so I basically had three different colors under. I can't stand this mix match of electrical tape, hockey tape, some soldered and heat shrink, some crimped, some weather tight connections, some are not. Some wires are too long, some wires are too short. It all needs to be, aesthetically pleasing and weather tight, functional, and cleaned up. What I like to do is attach my crib to the wire and then put heat shrink tubing around it, and then just get close to it with a little bit of heat. Tighten up that heat shrink tubing. I'm just going to use simple tie straps to bundle these wires together. Keep them clean, tight, and organized. And then later, I can go ahead and put it back inside the tubing sleeve.
Amazing music tracks.
I went to the Father's Day car show, and there's two 1970 Dart Swingers, all factory original restored, beautiful cars. And I noticed that they had this flat part of the flange facing upwards, and theirs are correct, and mine is incorrect. So I'm just going to rotate it and install it properly. I was really impressed to see these two 1970 Dodge Dart Swingers. They're as original as can be. They have the original style hose clamps on them, even the reproduction batteries with the caps on them that you would put the acid in them. They have the factory wiring, all original. They have exhaust manifolds. They are just completely beautiful, and the way they left the factory.
Amazing music tracks. Amazing music tracks.
certainly don't see things like an Edsel every day, so I thought this was a really cool car to look at.
Amazing music tracks.
I don't know who owns this 1976 Trans Am, but it is an amazing car, and I really am a fan of the engine turn dash on the Firebirds, and it's something that I used to have and that I miss having.
Okay, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I've got some really cool stuff coming up, and you can follow me as I get all these components back home and put them together. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.